Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to another episode of Dirt Diamond Sports Talk. I'm Ryan here with my man Wally. Before we get started, thank you guys for tuning in. Go ahead and grab us on any of your favorite podcast listening apps, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Hit that subscribe button so that you get our latest episode as we upload our chit chats about the Astros and what might be going on around the rest of the MLB. Wally, this road trip, my man, uh, it was a joke, wasn't it?
It was very 2013-esque, wasn't it?
Oof, man, that wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. I think that aside from just the injury news that came out, Carlos Correa said it best, man. He's like, we're not really trying to use the injury as an excuse. We've just played baseball. Sorry, I guess now I have to mark this episode as explicit. But anyway, it is what it is, right?
I think you can go. Once you do this is when you go back in the edited page, just blank that out.
Yeah,
children might be listening.
Oh man,
you can't do that, can't you?
I think so. I think we're going to give it a shot.
All right.
At least that's for sure. That's for sure.
This
series here going into Seattle. I mean, I guess, we had kind of thought that potentially a split here was going to be a possibility, knowing the pitching that they were bringing, the pitching we were bringing, the struggles they had been through. But this didn't really look like they had it all that together, even to the extent of, I mean, I don't know. So much frustrations, a few silver linings when you dig into the numbers a little bit, right? But it just didn't turn out to be what we had hoped. It could have been a kind of get right type of series for these guys.
Yeah, one of the things we try to talk about when we're on these shows, we try to look inside and try to give some trends that we think could happen or could draw a series to a certain conclusion or whatever. And one of the things we talked about last show was the Mariners were coming in hitting 184, and they had the highest chase rate of the league. We also said the Astros had the highest number of walks and still do in Major League Baseball. So we said if we were the Mariners, we just sit back and make the Astros throw strikes, and we just zone in on what we know is a strike. And that's what the Mariners did. They made the Astros throw strikes. The Astros for the series walked 27 guys. Pitchers walked 27 guys. That's 6 3/4 batters per game. And when we talk about the walks, people say, well, they walked a guy. Well, is a walk the same as a hit? A walk is not the same as a hit. A walk is much worse. And let's follow me on this, is that when somebody comes up and gets a hit, there's a good chance that at-bat ended in, say, 3 at-bats, 3 pitches, maybe 4. When a walk comes in, it's typically 5.5 to 6 pitches. So you're talking about, just for that same guy, you're talking an extra, call it 3 pitches per batter. Now, let's say the Astros do 27 walks, and let's just say, let's say they all turned into hits, which is not, but it's order of magnitude. That's 81 pitches extra they threw. So figure 3, let's say you walk 9 or 10 in the series, it's still 51 pitches extra that you threw. And where the Astros are with their pitching staff being so thin, they just don't have the depth to be able to call these guys up. And Colton Gordon's coming up this week. Colton Gordon JP France came up and actually pitched pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He wore one in one of the games, but he wasn't terrible. He pitched well today.
Yep.
Colton Gordon's a guy that we've seen Colton Gordon now for 2 seasons. He's a guy, you know, he'll probably give you 4, 5, maybe 6 innings, but he's got to throw strikes, and we've got to continue to score runs because he's going to give some up.
Yeah. You brought up the zone. The Astros zone percentage, pitchers zone percentage during this series was 41%. So uh only 41% of pitches hit the strike zone. And league average for the same 4 days was 48%. So, like you said, coming into the series, we knew the Astros were going to have to throw strikes. They decided to try to get these guys to chase outside of the zone, which they had been known for. A couple of these guys were having a real struggle before coming into the series against the Astros, and a few of those guys, especially in the meat of the order there, were having some real issues chasing. And I guess maybe the Astros tried to expose that. Um, it didn't work out in their favor at all.
No,
So that
here's
first game, Emai's implosion. I mean, he came out and issued 4 walks, giving up 3 runs, forced a bullpen game. Come to find out he's having some shoulder, or no, was it forearm or shoulder?
shoulder.
Well, shoulders. Yeah,
Just
shoulder.
shoulders. Just said arm fatigue.
Yeah. Yep. So, this was a game that we had a lot of confidence in Imai coming out of his last performance, and this just did not go. This
It
just
didn't
did
go
not go
well.
well. Didn't go well.
Something else. Something else I heard besides pitching is the Astros' defensive efficiency is second worst in baseball.
Mm,
And I don't know where they come up with that number. I heard that on MLB radio. And when you're not throwing strikes and you're getting balls hit and you're not catching the ball, we saw one today where Christian Walker and Mike Burrows had a standoff at first base. That Burrows should have
man.
gone to first base. Not waited for Walker. He should have gone to first base. He should have let Walker dictate what he was going to do. As it was, they let Cal Raleigh get a single to the first baseman. It was
Yep.
ridiculous. They did
Nothing
have it.
nothing really seemed to go right during this series. I mean, McCullers had a decent beginning. The game two, the Astros looked like this was a game that they could win. Getting us, they built up a 7-2 lead. Thanks to Trammell's, 3 RBI double. Jordan hitting his 6th home run of the season. McCullers didn't look bad. He just didn't really have a ton of control. But he couldn't escape the 5th, giving up that 2-run home run to J-Rod. And then, man, JP Crawford delivering that walk-off off of Abreu. That game, out of all 4 games, really, despite the 6-1 loss yesterday and the 6-2 loss today, that second game, man, that was demoralizing. That game
Yeah, it
was.
is. And we've talked about how good McCullers was against the Red Sox, and he went 7 innings and was just brilliant. This game is the game that we've gotten too used to seeing Lance McCullers throw, where he throws 4 1/3, gives up some runs, has a 1.62 WHIP, less than 60% strikes, throwing 18 pitches an inning, what the Astros need right now from their pitchers is to somebody be efficient. Just throw strikes.
Yeah.
You throw strikes and just let them hit it if that's what you need to do, and just see if your defense can improve on its efficiency.
Yep.
What was really disappointing about game 2 to me was you had 17 hits. Had 17 hits, left 13 guys on. You were 5 for 18 with runners in scoring positions, which is not at all terrible. That's, 278 average. But really, that says you had lots of chances to put a big crooked number and get into their bullpen big time, and
Yep.
you didn't do it. As it was,
Yep.
that today, when you look at the bullpen, a number of pitchers the Astros used, they used 5 in the first game. They used 6 in the second game. They used 5 in the third game, and they did come with just 2 today. And Burrows today gave up 6 runs, but he pitched better than his line indicated. He threw 70% strikes. He threw 2 pitches to Josh Naylor in the same place, and Josh Naylor did the same thing with both pitches and just knocked the daylights out of him.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. It was, I don't know, man. Yeah. And then, going into game 3 and game 4, I mean, I called game 3 just the quiet loss. Like there was just not much happening in that game outside of, Altuve going 3 for 4, and just the team again going 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Yonder hit a home run, big deal. Although it was nice to see him get a stick on a ball hard. I just, uh, Cody Bolton. What did you take from his start as opposed to just walking the house early?
I don't know. He got hit in the back, and maybe that didn't, maybe
Yeah.
that affected him some. But, again, we're talking about this is Cody Bolton.
Hmm.
This is Colton Gordon coming up. I mean, we're talking about guys that are just guys. And,
Yeah.
Dana used the spaghetti strategy of roster construction as far as the pitchers goes. Now, and
Yeah.
he said, yeah, he brought in a bunch of guys and we think they're going to be good, but basically he's throwing stuff against the wall and not a whole lot is stuck.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I there's a
It's
lot
been
of
yeah, it's been
there's a lot
brutal.
of talk about Joe, and there's a lot of talk about Dana. They're both in the last years of their contract, and you know, sometimes the baby gets thrown out with the bathwater. But Joe's dealing with what he's got, and this is the first year, and last year kind of too, were the first 2 years in the last, call it 10 or last, 9 or 10, where you could look at the Astros and say that roster construction wasn't very good.
Hmm. Yep. I mean, it, to give him some credit, nobody saw a list of Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, and Tatsui Imai all within the first 16 games of the season going on the
No, that's
IL.
fair. That's fair. But once you get past those 3 guys, and Imai, you have to say is a question mark because he's coming in from
Sure.
Japan, and there's
Yep.
going to be an adjustment. So you had Hunter Brown. Let's go through that as far as how it was done. Hunter
Yep.
Brown, you let Fromber go, and I'm not necessarily saying that you should have kept Fromber. Fromber had a bad start for Detroit. I think he gave up 8 runs the other day.
Hmm.
But you did have Brown, you had Javier, you had Imai, you had McCullers, and you have Burrows. So
Yep.
you've got McCullers, who you don't know how much he's got left. You've got Burrows as a second-year guy. Javier's having his first year coming off of a full year out of a Tommy John, and his shoulder may be that he overcompensated.
Hmm.
And you've got Brown, who just go through it. And Burrow, like all these guys, it's you didn't have a lot of room for error to start off with, and some of the guys you're bringing in, Ryan Weiss is brought in from Korea. K.Y. Tang has been a starter, but he really wasn't seen as a reliever. Uh,
Yep.
Gordon is down on the farm, and Arrighetti didn't do anything to make you say that he should have been
No.
taken west with the team.
Yep.
Um,
Blue ball's
uh,
not, he's not amazing.
Yeah, blue ball is a guy.
He's a guy.
This all comes, and people get
It's
tired of us saying this. This all
Yep.
started back in the late teens when they changed scouting theories or scouting approaches to go all digital. And since
Hmm.
that happened, you've only had Payne and you had Brown come up. The Astros
Yep.
the Astros approach has always been keep them for 6 years, let them go for free agents. We don't need to pay them all that much money, because we don't want to get stuck with bad contracts. And you're going to have
Yep.
minor leaguers coming up, and that all works as long as there's a minor leaguer coming up.
Yep. Well,
Plus
I
the
think
fact they've made a
it
couple.
goes.
Plus the fact they extended Javier, and that's not done well.
Yeah, no, and I think that goes to a conversation that I had with a guy the other day. Is at what point is there uh, a good chunk of the onus on Jim Crane for his just merry-go-round of managers, coaches, whatever, but primarily front office guys after the whole Jeff Lunau being let go.
Yeah,
When you look at philosophy, you look at strategy, tactics, development, all of these different pieces that go into creating a system that's based on this next man up philosophy. You can't do that when you got a merry-go-round and revolving doors in your front office and that mid-level front office management and development part of the system. And so a lot of people are looking at this and saying, who really didn't see this coming?
well,
Whenever you
well,
go back and you really look at all of that.
you and I've talked about it for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
We said, this is coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
We we
there's a
talked
lot of
we
guys
talked
out
about
there.
it.
Larry, the GM, is one guy who, for the last couple of years, people really gave him a lot of flack for saying 2026 is the year of the apocalypse for the Houston Astros. And guys, here we are. So I mean, yeah, we're 16 games into the season, whatever, 10% down, but we're starting to see the effects. We've started to see the effects for the last couple of years of what this team did and didn't do over the course of the last five.
Yeah. I wonder, you may know some people. I don't know anybody who had an in on this, but James Click of course, was let go after the World Series. My sense is that Crane said, do this. And Click said, no, that's a bad idea. And
Yeah.
Crane said, I'm giving you an order, do this. And Click said, I'll do what I can, but it's still a bad idea. And he called Crane on. I think my
Yeah.
sense is he called Crane on some things, and Crane didn't really like it as it turned into a personality deal.
There
Dusty,
had to have been something like that.
there's
Yeah.
Dusty, I've heard people talk about, you know, Dusty and how they tried to get him to go full analytics and, not do the lineup and not have some extra analytic help on the lineup. Dusty was his own man. He said, here, give me information, but I'm going to make the decision. And,
Yep.
I've, after 2000 wins, I've earned that right.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think that there was definitely a clash there. Probably in, the whole philosophy and tactics with Click. Click was really, in my opinion, Click was probably the next closest thing to a Jeff Lunau type guy that the Astros had the
Oh,
chance
yeah.
of pulling in. Um, you and I
I
both,
was a little,
and many fans were pretty, flabbergasted at the way that whole thing went down.
I'm a little surprised it went the way it did, because maybe it's different behind the scenes, but Click was a guy that just, stayed behind, did
Hmm.
his deals, didn't call a lot of attention, just put a good team together.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's,
Well, I mean,
we'll just,
he's gone and helped Toronto, do
yeah,
just that behind the scenes
yeah.
quietly. Yeah, I mean, I
Well,
think it's a matter of time before he is a president of baseball operations or a full blown
yeah.
GM somewhere else.
And what we need to move on. We need to move on. But the last thing I
Yeah,
will say about this is the difference between this team and some other teams that have started off slower. They've never had this bad a start recently, but they have had, 500 starts for the first 10, 20 games somewhere in there. This
yep.
team has a lot more red flags, statistical red flags that you wonder if they can be corrected,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think when you,
especially pitching.
well, and that's where I was going is whenever you got to really start to consider pitching, over the last couple of years, to Dana's credit, he has been a pretty good dumpster diver when it comes to finding, diamonds in the rough that can come in and contribute to the team. But where you are right now in looking at what this pitching staff is struggling at doing, you're not going to be able to you're not going to
Yeah.
be able to use bubble gum and baling wire to make it through the whole rest of the season. I mean,
Yeah.
16 games in. Um,
I think,
Foundationally, this team it has cracks right now.
yeah. Now, and we talked about in one of the shows that the schedule was actually pretty favorable to start off. They've got Colorado coming in and the Cardinals coming in.
Yep.
We've been a little panicky here. You don't want to be too panicky, but there are some concerns now. If they were to go 1-5 in this homestand and have real troubles, then they've got to go to Cleveland, to the Yankees. They go to Cleveland, Yankees come here, then to Baltimore, and then to Boston, and then the Dodgers come in here. Man, that's a stretch. It could get ugly
Yep.
quick.
Yeah.
Get ugly quick. And speaking of which, you've got the Rockies coming in. You've got, we don't know, against Michael Lorenzen, maybe Colton Gordon.
Colton Gordon. Yeah. Chandler Rome
They posted him.
reported earlier. Yeah. Chandler Rome reported earlier that Colton Gordon will be the starter.
And who do you have on Tuesday at Wednesday? Have you heard anything? Because they've got Imai on
Um,
ESPN, and that doesn't sound right.
no, it doesn't. I mean, golly, uh, who?
Yeah,
I mean, that's where are you? Where are you? I mean,
yeah.
Ryan Weiss. You go
I've heard
bullpen
his
game and
name.
start Weiss.
I've heard his name there.
Blue ball.
Um,
I mean, you got the two of those guys. So, you go 3-3 there, you get through the sixth inning and then you're back into the regular part of the bullpen. Maybe. I don't know.
yeah, and they have had some bullpen guys pitch pretty well, and so hopefully that carries over. De Los Santos, Tang, King, and Blue Ball pitched okay. I think I heard that the King is going to go to close, right?
Well, I think there's some speculation that that's probably in the plan. Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't keep on throwing Abreu out like this.
No.
I mean, he did throw a
Scoreless.
scoreless inning, but he took 27 pitches to do it.
Yep. Yep.
So it's not as
Steven
if,
Steven Okert's quietly been doing his job.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that's where you are. I mean, I think you're definitely in a bullpen game on Wednesday, and that's going to probably be it's got to be some combination of blue ball Weiss. Uh, yeah.
Burrows goes. Let's see, then, because McCullers goes on Thursday, and they're not
Hmm.
gonna they're not gonna move him
They're not
up.
going to bump him up. No.
Not gonna move him up, especially the way his arm has been. They're still showing ESPN still showing Bolton on Friday, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, what we're talking about is, think about us trying to figure it out, and the Astros, they're probably in the same boat we are,
It's the
saying
same.
who the heck is going to
Yeah.
play?
Sitting around with a glass of brown water, just guys, what are we? Yeah,
Oh
flipping
yeah,
coins and
Mister.
man.
they and John Daniel and Mr. Weller are trying to figure out what they're,
Yeah.
with who's going to do something. So then
Yeah.
you've got the Cardinals coming in for 3.
Yep.
Cardinals are, we saw what the Rockies can do. Granted, the Astros are playing terribly. The Rockies are not as bad as they were last year.
Hmm.
Um, let's see how they do
You've
outside of
already,
Coors
you've already,
Field.
that's what I was going to say. You've already seen him once now, and you got a little bit of home field advantage, whatever that really means for the Astros. That's been a
Yeah.
very questionable thing over the last few years. Um, it's going to be it'll be really interesting to see. You know, man. I mean, we're blessed to have a guy like Carlos Correa. Watching his little interview and seeing him kind of get a little bit fired up. We talked about that force multiplier in the clubhouse that is Carlos Correa.
Yeah.
And I think that there's got to be something to we got to put that behind us, guys. We're coming home. Yes, we've got 13 and 13. But this is do or die right now. We're at a point
Well,
where we can't fall that far behind. The offense, surprisingly, coming into this road trip was best in baseball. And you haven't lost any of those guys that were your main contributors to that. And
no.
so you've got to be able to get back to where we're seeing the ball, you're taking the pitches, and you're making solid contact.
Yeah.
The
The
runners in
approach has
scoring
to,
position thing that fell apart. I mean, before this road trip, they were not leaving guys on base, and now
well,
what did I say? What was it? 2 for 29
though they were 5
in
for
this,
18 for this. They were
or
5 for 18 for the series. But, the
okay, I don't
thing
know what I was
about
looking
this
at.
series, the thing about this series was weird is that game 2 had 17 hits. And so your
Yeah,
numbers got skewed. Your numbers got skewed by that. You take those 17 hits out, you had 37 hits. That means you only had about 6 and 2/3 hits per game. The games 1, 3, and 4. So
yep,
the good news is though coming in, they're playing the Rockies and the Cardinals, neither of which have great pitching staffs.
yep,
The Cardinals are no, they're picked to be last, and they'll probably win 73, 74 games somewhere in there. They're not terrible, but
yep,
they are a team. If the Astros get the approaches right and throw strikes, they should be able to take care of business at home. If you take a 4-2, 5-1 homestand, that should relax you going onto the road because they have to go to Cleveland, and you got Saccone against Saccone, Messick, and Bybee. Those are 3 good pitchers.
yeah, yeah.
This this
Cleveland
this
has
this
got some
bull
decent
this
pitching right now.
this homestand is, you hate to say it's a must have this early in the season, but it's a must have this early in the season.
Yeah, if not for record purposes, for confidence purposes, moving in past, getting through April, they've really put themselves behind the curve, especially when it comes to the path to 88 wins that I that I
Yeah.
predicted. Because I had them coming out of April needing to be 18 and 10 in order to play 520 ball. At this
Well,
point right
you got the 10
now,
part figured out
the
already.
content, yeah, yeah, they're gonna have to win out. That's gonna be something. They're gonna have to now play 570 ball at this point. And that's a 92 win pace in order to get to 88 wins at the end of the season. So um, it'll be interesting. Like we said prior to hitting record, nobody's really running away, one, with this division yet, and two, the American League's just not like,
It's
man,
a 500
nobody,
league.
nobody, yeah, nobody in the American League is playing heavy ball right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Detroit doesn't look fantastic. The Yankees don't look fantastic. Toronto's just kind of scraping through. You've just got. I mean, we just saw Seattle, and prior to their series with us, they were looking abysmal. There's nobody in the American League right now that's really just standing out an early contender of running away with the league yet.
Yeah, 3 games over 500 is the top record in the American
Hmm.
League compared to the National League, where you've got the Pirates leading in the Central of all things with being 10-6. The Dodgers are 11-4, and the Padres are 10-6.
Yeah,
Pirates would be fun to watch. We need, we should, in one of the next couple of shows, we should start breaking down a team and how they're doing, and
bouncing around the league a little
bring
bit.
that
That's fun. That sounds
bounce that
great. Let's
around a
do
little.
it.
That'd be a fun project.
Yep. Yep. One thing we have to look forward to is the Rockies hitters typically see a 15% drop in their slugging when they leave Colorado. So we saw them go off in Coors Field. So, maybe we get a little bit of Daikin Field factor in this series coming home. Um, yeah, yeah,
We'll see. Comes down to the same thing we've talked about. The one thing that I saw that was encouraging today, even though they lost the game, even though Burrows gave up 6 runs, and one reason we say he outpitched his line. He gave up did give up 11 hits. He only walked 1 guy.
yeah,
At least he wasn't putting extra guys on, so he was able to get through 6. That sort of throwing strikes, making him hit the ball. Don't hang the sliders that end up in the Crawford boxes.
yeah,
But these 6 games, I'm going to say your break even on this homestand really is 4-2, and you got to win both these series, and you really want to get a sweep. You want to get a sweep of one of these 2 series.
yep, absolutely. If you have a gotta perform player for specifically this Rockies series coming up, who's that guy going to be for you?
One of the pitchers for sure.
Yep.
I'm going to say, well, Lance goes on Thursday. So, I'm going to say it's going to be Colton Gordon. I think
Okay.
they really need Colton Gordon and ESPN's posted him now
Okay.
in the last 5 minutes. Gordon needs to go out and throw 5 or 6 innings. He needs to set. I mean, I would normally say McCullers, but it's that you've had a bad road trip coming home. You've got to make that statement on that first game. So I say Colton Gordon.
Okay.
I think the hitters are going to hit. The pitchers have not pitched. And so I'm going to say Colton Gordon. What about you?
Since you took a picture, I'm gonna take a hitter. And I'm gonna ask Isaac Paredes to show up.
Yeah.
We need him to come back to some form of 2025 prior to his injury and just falling in love with dropping balls in the Crawford boxes. With Pena being out and now knowing that Paredes is probably going to get full-time play, however they decide to set up the infield, even though I heard some speculation that Nick Allen may get a little extra playing time, I think that would be a really dumb move on the part of Joe, knowing that you're home and you've got Paredes right there. I think we need Paredes to step up and come back to some form of 2025 when at home. Dangerous guy.
This is a time, and I know you like analytics, and I do to an extent too. But this is a time where I think you need to drop a lot of the analytics and just let players play.
Yeah, put your big dogs in and let the big dogs bite.
Yeah, say let the big dogs run.
Yep.
Not the X, like Jimmy Johnson said, ain't the X's and O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes.
That's right. That's right. Well, I think that's probably going to end up doing it for us tonight. Thanks again, Wally, my man, Wally.
Thank you, buddy.
Hey, for my man, Wally, I'm Ryan. This was another episode of Dirt Diamond Sports Talk. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and We'll see you guys again probably sometime before the weekend. Go Stros.
What about